got everything straightened out. We hope we've got Jennifer Martin with us. She's the president of Montgomery County Education Association here in Maryland. Good afternoon, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, it's a delight to be here with you, Hal. It's a very happy day for my union. We have a tentative agreement now with MCPS on our contract for the coming year. It's actually a 4-year contract with a 2-year wage agreement. So very happy to be here today at an auspicious moment.
That's tremendous news. I'm so glad to hear that. And as you know, my wife is a teacher in Montgomery County Public Schools. She'll be delighted as well. I was going to talk about the fracas that was at the county council just a couple of days ago. Who could have known teachers would be, going out there making noise and fighting as aggressively as you did? It looks like it paid off.
We shall see. We are waiting. That was the school system who agreed to our the contract. The tentative agreement was with the Board of Education. It is now up to the county council to fund those agreements. So the 3 unions are waiting with bated breath here in MCPS to hear what the council is going to do. And that is why we were forceful in calling for them to fully fund the county executive's budget.
All right, we're getting some noise back. I don't know if that's on your end or mine. Obviously,
It might be. I think it's my.
Sounds like someone's texting you, maybe.
It's my light.
So
yes.
the concern, and I'm glad finally the problem isn't on my end. We had some technical challenges today, and I had to get those straightened out. Now we're having a little bit of an issue on Jennifer's. We want to go.
Yes, on mine, and I have a new device, which I haven't been able to. Let me see if I can just
join.
If I mute it, you won't be able to hear me.
Join the tech club here, where we're all fighting to get our devices to work. So this is the issue, am I right, is that we're fighting, I don't want to say fighting, but the challenge is the funding. And that was why you were, I guess, somewhat assertive is maybe the right word with the county council 2 days ago. Is that right? Getting the approved funding. Are you more optimistic that that will happen?
I am not taking anything for granted right now. We are continuing to press for the full funding of the county executive's budget. The superintendent has made it clear that in order to fund the contracts fully, they must have at least an 8-cent property tax increase in order to address the needs of our students. The school budget, which are for really sorely needed services and staffing for our students, whether that can be done with at 8 cents. We're fighting still for 10 because we think that we know that our students need to have the things that the superintendent and Board of Ed have put forward, and that the county executive has also approved and is moving to the county council.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how you all are fighting the teachers, not just for the teachers, but also for the students. For example, to have guaranteed lunches, right, for every student in the school. Why are those so important to the teachers, as well as at least keeping somewhat pace with inflation?
Well, we see our negotiations as a union as being not only for ourselves, but for the common good of the community. We are public servants and we are trying to serve that public. And so having issues like food security addressed in our contract is simply our effort to try to lift up the community and make sure that needs are addressed. I think that teachers daily demonstrate their dedication to their students. And we have certain things that are at our disposal within the classroom in terms of our time and attention and expertise. but we know that there are other resources that our students are lacking that we ourselves cannot provide, but that we can do our best to demand.
So tell us about how having kids who may be hungry in school, what do you hear from teachers? Let me put it that way, about the challenges they face when kids come to school. They haven't had breakfast. They may not have a healthy or complete lunch to eat. How does that impact on the profession itself?
Well, I can tell you from a very personal level, my own classrooms, there have been times, it depends on the school, but there have been places I have worked where we've maintained our own private food pantries in our classrooms to make sure that our children have something to eat during the school day. Especially when I've taught in high school, many students, I think, feel either really a sense of shame, or they're concerned about the status of their family being somehow at risk if they report a need for assistance with receiving food at school. And so we ourselves oftentimes are providing that kind of nutrition support. It's we certainly we see during COVID there was a need to continue food service to our families, so that our students were being fed while they were on home instruction. And that is the school is often the place where students have the most food security.
And also it's safe space, right? I mean, that's part of education, is having that safe place for kids, and they're not going to feel that way if they don't have enough to eat. So right now, as I understand it, what you in MCEA are fighting is a reluctance. Is that fair to say? And I don't want to put words in your mouth, so tell us where I'm getting it wrong, Jennifer, but a reluctance perhaps on the part of the Montgomery County Council to raise the property tax to fund the teachers' salaries, as well as some of these additional services that provide for kids' needs. Is that basically correct?
Well, the county council is responsible for whatever funding the school system gets. So they need to, we get it's more than, I'm trying to think, it's about half the funding for the schools comes from the county council. They have to approve the spending. And for our contracts to be fully funded, there is going to have to be a tax increase of some kind. Right now, I don't know where the council members are. No one has come out publicly and said that they will support any tax increase number. What we hear is we are going to make sure that your contracts are funded, but they're not saying how they're planning to get there. And our concern is that they not cut services in the county in order to do so. And I'm not just talking about the base budget in MCPS, look for savings there. We're looking at, I don't want them to be going into general services either, because let's face it, folks in Montgomery County don't move here and stay here because of the low taxes. They come here because of excellent services, and we stay because of the livability of this county that is driven largely by the quality of the public services that are provided and the attractiveness that then brings to this region for businesses and for people to come and live and work and raise their families. So where the county council is right now, I'm hoping that the energy that we brought in our protest earlier this week is giving them an understanding that this is a very deeply felt concern on the part of the teachers and educators of Montgomery County, that we need to do right by our students and families and provide that world-class education that our kids deserve, and that it's good for the county economically.
All right, deeply felt indeed. Here is the Montgomery County Teacher of the Year for 2022-2023, Jonathan Dunn. I believe I have the right clip here. Let's play a little bit from what he had to say.
The very present needs that are facing our community. Yes, on post-COVID, we have the emotional, the social emotional, and all of those things that are very real and impacting learning. But there's also this piece of living in a space that, because of inflation and other things, It's so expensive. It's literally a place where if you ever, I mean, my first 3 years in the county, I lived at home with my mom and dad, driving from Upper Marlboro, Maryland, all the way to Cabin John. And when I think about that and the fact that that was 1999, and now you're dealing with median home prices in the neighborhood of, you know, for first time 4s and 5s, and you're walking out the gate with debts and everything.
All right, so you hear that, and obviously, I mean, I don't know what to say. This is something that I find very, very challenging issue, Jennifer, because as a homeowner, I am sympathetic to the concerns of those who say, and you just heard teacher Dunn say it, Jonathan Dunn say it, it's the prices keep going up. And if you raise the tax on real estate, it will make it harder for other folks, especially middle class people who are still hanging on, who can still live in this county. It will make it harder. I mean, that is a real concern. Don't we need to ultimately, and I'm not saying this is your job or the teacher's job, don't we ultimately need to fund our necessary government services by taxing the wealthiest, those who have done so well over the past 30 years, 40 years at a higher rate?
Well, I certainly believe in progressive taxation, you know, that those who have the most responsibility to help support our community and our shared, needs. Yeah, I'm not a tax policy expert, so I won't go further than that. But I do believe that in progressive taxation and would support any measures that might come down the pike through the state delegation to make improvements there.
Well, I would also note that Montgomery County's taxes, real estate taxes, are actually lower than many comparable communities. I was very surprised to note, and please, I guess, since I own my own house, that my tax rate is about 50% that of my mom, who lives in Westchester, New York. So she has a more valuable home, but she's paying nearly 3 times as much every year annually. Well, that would be every year. She pays 3 times as much annually in real estate taxes than I do with a home that's maybe worth 50% more, because the tax rate is double. So even if we did raise it at the rate you're talking about, 9 cents, 10 cents per dollar, it still would leave a county that has much lower rates than comparable than comps.
Well, and you don't have to go as far as New York to find higher tax rates. Just look at Howard County; they're at $1.25. And if we were to have the 10-cent tax increase, we would be at $1.09 on $100 of assessed value. So, folks have the false impression that we live in a high tax county, and that is not the case. We live in a high value area. Real estate is expensive here, and that's why our tax burden, feels heavy on a lot of folks, because our homes are worth a lot if we own real estate.
And one reason they're worth as much as they are is because the schools are so good. So people want to pay more to live in or at least they have the reputation. This is a concern that my wife has expressed. I'd like you to respond to it. I know you don't have a lot of time. I want to play a video, but just respond to this concern. My wife, who's been teaching in Montgomery County since 1991, something like that, over 30 year period, although she hasn't gotten 30 years of years in, that the school system is it's not as much fun to work at. It's harder, and that the education that teachers are able to provide, while still exemplary, isn't as good as it once was. If we don't raise salaries and make it more affordable to teach here, we may lose that advantage that we've enjoyed in this county for maybe a century even.
Well, I appreciate you making my point for me. I love to talk about how public schools are the jewel in the crown for Montgomery County. That indeed, I said this to the county council. My folks moved here to raise their children, me and my brother, here because the schools were considered excellent. And I moved back here after I finished my graduate program and started a family. I moved back here for the schools as well. And a lot of us can say that. And even my neighbors who do not have children recognize that it's important to pay for the schools because their property values are tied to the quality and reputation of MCPS. It is foundational, and it's why it always shocks me that the Realtors Association is against raising taxes for the schools, because that money directly feeds into tremendous gain in property values. So to me, that's really a foolish choice to make, to say I'd rather have lower taxes than excellent schools.
All right, let's get to you. We played from Teacher of the Year done. Here is Jennifer Martin, a section from your comments too. And this was, by the way, in the context of what was a Teacher Appreciation Week. I don't think the county council expected what hit them.
Very present needs that are facing our community.
Let me see. That was the wrong video.
And before we can meet the needs.
Oh well, let's see if we can get it right here. No, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I don't have the right video.
Very present needs.
We'll let it go. So I don't have
community.
that one here at this moment. So I've obviously been struggling today. Let me ask you this though, Jennifer. You were standing up there. You called another teacher. The shouting was, "Let them speak. Let this teacher speak. We have to use our teacher voice." You were interacting with Will Jawando, who's considered one of the most progressive members of the county. Council member Kristen Mink was also standing up there. Kristen is actually a teacher. I don't think she is still teaching. She was until this school year teaching in Montgomery County Public Schools. Her top advisor was a teacher as well. Are you surprised and or disappointed? And maybe I'm assuming wrongly, but is it your sense that they are not providing the support you were expecting from them when the teachers union endorsed both Jawando and Mink for county council?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say we endorsed, I think, everybody who's up there right now. So, we're waiting to see that these council members who have, during our interviews with them and in their surveys to us, extolled the importance of the public schools and pledged their support for public education, that they will come through for us. The reason that we came out on the day of the Teacher Appreciation Proclamation is because we want to make sure that the proclamation is not just filled with empty words. It's a little bit patronizing, especially to a majority female profession, to say, "Oh, you're so wonderful for what you do, and we're so glad you're willing to do this for the kids." Because honestly, this is a profession. And yes, we are a very giving lot. The people who become teachers are self-giving, but they also need to make sure that they can take care of themselves and their families, that they can have a decent quality of life and have time with their families and in pursuits beyond their professional endeavors. And right now we're at a place where teachers are burning out, where students are not getting what they need. And the council needs to give us more than a proclamation. We need to have action.
Well, it's very powerful what you're doing. And I think that we're seeing in this movement, Jennifer, as well as across the country, that workers are standing up for themselves. I'd love to see, and I don't know whether you're doing this as well. I did talk to another union organizer from Kenyon College, Ohio, where the students there are organizing, what they were doing to build alliances with other labor groups. Is that something you're also doing? And I assume the answer is yes, but I see you nod. But how do you feel that can move the ball forward as well to help your rank and file, but also workers in other professions?
Well, we stand with our allies on issues that are beyond education, and so there are natural alliances that have formed here in Montgomery County to support the needs of the community. We're behind the rent stabilization efforts. We're standing with CASA and LIUNA and JUFJ and other organizations on issues that are not necessarily education specific, but they do have a direct impact on our students and the families we serve. And they have actually, rent stabilization is a good example of something that affects our members as well, because many of our teachers are not in a position to be able to afford to buy a home. They are renters as well, and may have trouble finding affordable rent given the salaries that they earn.
Hey, I know you have to run. I want to thank you so much. Before you go, is there a final word, as well as how my viewers can perhaps get involved in this effort?
Sure.
To guarantee fair pay for teachers.
I didn't have enough forethought to bring a QR code to share with everybody, but we do have a petition that is still live. We delivered over 10,000 signatures, I believe, at this point on that petition, calling for full funding of our schools. And so we have a We Love Our MoCoPublicSchools.org, I believe. It may be .com. I'm so sorry.
I'll put it in the description so folks who are watching on YouTube can. Yes, I will after this video is after we're done.
I feel a little bit like Joe Biden, who didn't know his own web address, but yes, I will. If you can do that, we have a petition, and we would welcome the signatures of other like-minded folk who want to stand with us in supporting full funding for our students and their schools.
Thank you so much, Jennifer Martin, for joining us, president of the Montgomery County Education Association. Really appreciate it. And yeah, don't be a stranger. I'll try to get you back. I know we had some tech challenges there. It's kind of disappointing because I had everything so worked out yesterday, but I don't know what there's some teacherism, I'm sure, but I just flush. When you make a mistake, you just have to flush it. That's what the teachers always say. Have a great day and good luck.
Thank you, Hal.
All right. So that's Pleasure. Jennifer Martin, and I really do appreciate her joining us this afternoon. Actually, you're watching Halitics, and if you want to call me real quick, I'll go for a few more minutes. I'm also going to see if I can get Jennifer's video up. It's pretty interesting what happened there, even though she had to go. I do want you to see what happened with the county council. It's very disappointing. I do get the reluctance to raise. I most certainly do understand the reluctance to raise property taxes by 10%. That is an issue, and the county is already very expensive. Personally, fine, we'll pay it. It's not a big, from my perspective, my wife's a teacher, it's in my interest, and it's also, I do agree about the schools. Great schools mean higher real estate values. Ultimately, I'm sure I'll recoup whatever that additional grand or so that I'd have to pay. But frankly, for folks who are, don't have much income, retired people, it is an issue. And the ultimate answer in Maryland has to be changing the laws so that counties can raise money through progressive income taxes and through progressive estate taxes. That's really the only fair way to raise money. Progressive income taxes, very high top marginal rates on the highest earners, and again on estate, because when someone dies, if they leave a big pile, then it's only right that some of that pile be used to pay for the net needed services that make society worth living in. All right, let's see if we can get Jennifer's video here. I'm going to do my best for you folks. Tomorrow is the free-for-all. We will have some comments from Jeff I'll be talking about. And also, is it time to cancel culture? I think the Trump Town Hall in New Hampshire really points out to me why we've got to cancel culture. Maybe that's a little cryptic. If you want to know what I mean by that, then you're just going to have to tune in tomorrow, and I should be going at my 11 a.m. time, and you'll find out exactly why I'm saying let's cancel culture. But before we get to that, well, a day before we get to that, what we'll focus on is Jennifer Martin speaking to the county council. And I'm glad I got this video, because even if she's not in it, because you do see some real progress. I feel like Will Jawando and Kristen Mink are probably the two most progressive members of the county council. I reached out to both of them. I was hoping they could join us. You'll see in this image, Kristen Mink is the woman standing behind Jennifer Martin in that image. To Jennifer's right, to your left, as you look at the woman in the center, Jennifer Martin, and standing directly to Jennifer Martin's right, as you're looking at her, or to her left and behind her, is Will Jawando. So I did reach out to both. I was hoping they could join us. You can see the Teacher of the Year as well as that image. Let's play some of this video here and see how the council responds to Jennifer Martin. Here we go.
Communities who reject false choices and who know that you do not have to rob Peter to pay Paul. It is economic nonsense to say that a 10-cent property tax increase will leave children starving, but that a double-digit rent increase is okay because that's just the price of doing business.
All right, and that's an applause line, because the teachers are fighting, as Jennifer mentioned, against a plan by one of the more, well, let me say it this way, by a new county council member, Natalie Fanny Gonzalez, which would allow property owners, lessors, people who rent out apartments, to raise their, it's framed as rent control or rent stabilization, but it allows for double-digit increases in rent. So, I mean, that seems wholly unjust, especially if you're going to balk at raising property taxes. Then how can you possibly green light massive rent increases for people who, may be barely getting by? And that's exactly what the council's contemplating. Now, if you watch the video, I'm going to just start playing again for a little bit, but I'm going to stop.
I am accepting this recognition on behalf.
And you can see Jawando and Mink are uncomfortable back there. I was really hoping to get them on this again, or at least representatives. We'll see if we can have that happen.
Of our future, hopeful that this proclamation is not an empty gesture, but that it is followed by act.
All right, and I guess I ended it there, but right after she says she hopes it'll be followed by action, but right afterwards, it got raucous, and the council just shut down that meeting. They just didn't want to have the teachers speaking, and it's really, we'll see what happens here. I do have some sympathy for the council members. I'd like to have them on. I get why they don't want to raise property taxes 10%. I understand that. Teachers haven't gotten raised in years. The teachers with more than 20 years experience, they don't even get step increases anymore. It's like every 8 years or something. So they get like one between 20 and 30, every 5 years, maybe two. Montgomery County is shedding teachers. People can't afford to live here. Teachers can't afford to live here. All you have are affluent people and poor people these days. Some working class. It's getting harder and harder. Something has to be done. In the short term, we've got to fund the teachers. In the long run, we have to come up with equitable mechanisms, which means much higher top marginal income tax rates and higher and estate taxes. And a carbon tax, a fossil fuels tax. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for participating. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe.